This SUV can tow 3.5 tons. It's got 7 seats and it's got heaps of luxury appointments as well. And it's also got a 4-litre twin-turbo petrol V8 engine under the bonnet. So this is a menace. It's the Audi SQ7. It's one of the best 7-seat SUVs on the planet, especially if you like performance. I'm going to tell you all about it in this review. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe and ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my reviews. And let's get to it. Greatness doesn't come cheap, people, and this car is an example of that. It's about $175,000 before on-road costs and before option packs, because you might actually want to tick a few boxes with this vehicle if you are considering it. And hey, what's an extra 25, 30 grand in options anyway? Look, there are some options that you might love, things like laser headlights and OLED taillights that can actually warn someone if they're getting a bit too close to you, which is really great tech. And you can also get the sensory package, which includes things like massaging and cooled front seats, heated second row seats, and a 23 speaker sound system if you want that. But otherwise, the standard equipment list is actually pretty good for this car. You're getting things like LED lights. They are excellent matrix LED lights, LED tail lights as well. You've also got 22-inch wheels, a panoramic sunroof, keyless entry, push button start, an electric tailgate, and on the inside you're getting Valcona leather seat trim, beautiful seats and lovely design on the inside with a couple of touchscreens, one for your media, one for your climate controls. You've also got a fully digital instrument cluster, and there's plenty of other great features inside, which I'll show you shortly. But let's talk about some alternatives to the SQ7. You might be surprised, there's not actually that many 3.5 ton towing 7-seat V8 SUVs like this on the market, but there are some good alternatives that I'll still tell you about anyway. In Australia, there's nothing else quite like this car. There's no other 7-seater with this much grunt that offers this kind of value for money. I mean, value is all relative, I guess, but there are some alternatives that might stack up better for you. Depends on how much you can spend. But the first one is the Land Rover Defender 130. It's available with 8 seats and a thumping V8 engine as well. It could be a really good option for you, especially if you do plan to use all 3 rows of seats, because it's a very, very big vehicle and it will suit your needs if you're after that level of practicality. There are some question marks over the reliability of the Land Rover Defender at the moment, but there is a big price to pay for that high spec version of the Defender 130. You're looking at more than $215,000 before on-road costs, so this thing stacks up really well as an alternative to that. But there's also other options out there, like the BMW X7 M60i with a 4.4 litre twin-turbo V8 petrol engine. It's an absolute smasher of a vehicle. It's big, it's brash, and it's actually beautiful in some people's eyes. You tell me what you think in the comments. I haven't actually done a review of that car just yet, but hopefully I'll be able to bring you some content on the X7 at some point. Well, there's another option that you might want to look at. It's the Nissan Patrol, and I know that might seem like an absolutely oddball option. It is more of an off-roader than anything else, but it is a very, very practical vehicle. It's got 3 rows of seats, 8 seats in fact, and it comes with a Warrior version available, which is really, really good off-road and surprisingly good on-road and brilliant at towing too. So the Nissan Patrol Warrior could be a really excellent alternative to this, and all the money you save by choosing the Nissan instead of this, I guess you could spend on the fuel bill, because it's a thirsty thing. This version of the SQ7 is fitted with the standard silver trim package, which you might find to be a little bit dated looking. There's a black pack option as well, which I actually think does add a fair bit more wow factor to the experience. And also you've got these 22-inch wheels, which you can get other wheels if you don't like the look of those. I think these look really good. And hey, this car does have adaptive air suspension, so you can lower it down. It's in a pretty low setting right now, and you can raise it up if you need to as well. Now I'll show you the interior practicality soon. It doesn't look overly different to any other Q7 that's come before it, even though this is the facelifted version. It's very mild in terms of a facelift. Let's have a look in the boot. Oh, you get a new badge at the back with the little rhombus. And of course it's got an electric boot with gesture control, but I can't get it to work, so let's just push the button and see what we are dealing with. Now this is your 5-seat configuration. So if you are going to use this as a 5-seater with plenty of boot space, it is plenty of boot space. You'll see the number on your screen now, and that is a fantastic amount of cargo capacity. Now there is a cargo blind that usually runs across the back there. I've removed it so I can show you these electric third row seats. So you've got buttons on the side here. You can just push the button there and it will raise the seat up for you. I mean, that's a little bit over the top, but it is a nice luxury feature. Just pop the headrest up there. I'll do the other side as well, just for illustrative purposes. I reckon that this is a nice feature to have, but like I said, you probably don't need it. Put those seats up. Okay, and now you'll be able to see the 7-seat configuration cargo capacity on your screen now, and that is huge. That's a heap of space. I'll get into the third row shortly to show you how much space is available there. I just want to show you a couple other things in the back here. You can lower the boot down if you want to load heavy items, or you can raise it up depending on where you're sitting or parked. And you've got a little mesh section here, a little light in the back, and on the other side there's another light. And underneath the boot floor, well, you've got a tire repair kit and no spare wheel. So that might be a deal breaker, but I don't think they'd be able to fit a 22 or 23-inch wheel underneath the boot anyway. That's a subwoofer as well. So look, I reckon that it is a hugely practical, huge SUV, as it bloody well should be. Hey, let's go check out the inside. I know there are some people out there who think that Audi design is a bit boring, but personally, I love this Teutonic, German, very, very technical design. This spells luxury to me more than big blingy screens and silly looking shiny plastics. And not to say that there's not a few shiny plastics in here, but I do like this design a lot. I think it's a very practical and very smart looking cabin, and it does have all the luxury elements that you would expect. Now, being the SQ7, it's also got sporty elements that you would expect. So it's got the sporty steering wheel, which doesn't have a flat bottom. I wish it did. And it's also got this red stitching across the dashboard, and it runs onto the doors, and it runs onto these beautiful quilted leather seats, which are fantastically comfortable and very, very adjustable as well. And the only thing that I wish you could maybe do a little bit more of is get down low in your seat as the driver, but this is basically the position I'm in. I'm sort of sitting up in an SUV position. I guess that's the point of it. It is an SUV, it's not the RS6, but check out my review of that one if you haven't already. Now you've also got plenty of screens to contend with as well. You've got your virtual instrument display here, virtual cockpit, I think Audi calls it. It does have a bunch of different views available, so you can jump through different menus. Being the SQ7, it's also got different sporty menus as well. You can go into your sat nav, so you can have your maps on the screen as well if you want to. And it is a very, very high-tech and beautiful piece of design, in my opinion. Still one of the best you can get in terms of the digital instrument cluster. It looks like I'm in a desert, but I'm definitely not. All right, there's also sat-nav on this screen, as you would expect, and you've also got smartphone mirroring, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless, if you wish to use those. The screen itself takes a little bit of learning. There's a few menus upon menus that you will need to get used to, but I think that it is a very simple system. My main bugbear is that the volume knob is down here and not up there, and you have to do some things on this screen that will then show up on this screen. So for instance, if I want to switch on the climate control down there, yes, that's where your climate control panel is, and there's a bunch of other controls. So you've got your heated seats, your ventilated seats, because this car has the optional package. It's got the heated steering wheel, and there's also perfume as well if you want that on. But if you want to turn off the climate control, how would you do that? You'd hit this little button down here, and that would show up another menu on the top screen, which is a bit confusing, I reckon. So I'll turn it off. Just to keep things simple. That's a pretty decent screen to get used to as well. No physical buttons though, so it's all sort of a haptic push screen situation. There are some physical buttons down there, so you've got your parking system button and your safety systems button down there. Nice little gear shifter with the perforated leather finish, which matches the steering wheel. And you've also got a pair of cup holders down there, 12 volts, and a covered center console bin with a couple of cables in there right now. And there's also a wireless phone charger too. So I reckon it looks fantastic. It feels pretty plush, and it is a lovely experience up front, even if it's not as blingy as some of those other options. But like I said, I don't love this highly reflective black stuff. But hey, let's go into the second row and see how much space there is to play with. So the second row space is actually really exceptional back here. This seat in front of me is set for my driving position. I've got heaps of knee room, heaps of foot room, and I can slide this seat forward so I could get to a position where I'd give anyone in the third row a bit more space. I'll show you that in a sec. And you can do that for each of these seats. In fact, they are 3 individual seats. They can slide independent of one another, and they all have ISOFIX points and top tethers as well, which is a really, really nice thing to have to configure your family the way you want them. And in this middle section, you've also got a flip down armrest with pop-up cup holders, which is a nice little practicality element. And there's mesh mat pockets on the seat backs. You've got bottle holders in the doors as well. And there's a climate control system. It's not on right now because the car's not on. And there's vents here too. So that's pretty good. You get more vents up in the pillars as well, which is also a nice addition. And there are sunshades on the back windows as well, which I really think is a great feature to have. There's also this little section here, which looks like it's an ashtray, which is peculiar, but hey, what do you think? I reckon it's a pretty spacious second row experience, very comfortable. Just be mindful that there is a transmission tunnel intrusion to contend with. If you've got 3 adults with big feet, that might be a slight consideration, but I'm just going to slide this seat back forward to the position where I'll be able to get into the third row more comfortably. And let's do that now, shall we? Righto, so I've positioned this seat so I would be comfortable sitting behind my own driving position, and it is a pretty clever mechanism. Let me show you. So you can just use this little lever down here to fold down the seat back, and then you push where it says push and lift it up, and it's quite a hefty mechanism. So smaller, weaker people, I'm very, very strong, obviously, might not be able to do that as easily. I'm just going to get back here in the position that might be comfortable, might not be. Let's see. Push this back up. My hot tip from the third row is you need a short driver to be comfortable in the third row of this vehicle if you're 6 foot tall, because if that seat was further forward, this seat could be further forward and I would have a bit more leg room. But look, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, I don't think. If you are using this as a child hauler primarily, it will be roomy enough, I would say, to fit younger kids in the back, or even up to like 175 centimeters, I would say, because headroom in here, I'm 182, it's like, yeah, just a little bit tight. But overall, the backseat experience could do with some improvements. There are no vents in the third row, which is not fantastic. You do get lights, which is good, but there is another really great feature back here. You've got ISOFIX points in both seats. So ISOFIX there, one in the seat that I'm in, and top tether points for both as well. And that means that you can fit 5 kid seats in this car. There's not many SUVs on the market that can do that. There's not much in the way of other amenities in the third row. You've got an armrest, which is hard, scratchy plastic, and it's got a cup holder. There's another one of those on this side, but no charge ports or anything like that. So could be better, but I don't think that it's too bad. If you're planning to use this as a 5+2 or a bonus third row car, it could be really good. Or if you want to use those child seat points and put the whole fam in, hey, it might be okay, just won't be the best you can get. Under the bonnet of the SQ7 is a 4-litre twin turbocharged petrol V8 engine. It's an absolute cracker of a thing. It's got an 8-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters, and it's also got quattro all-wheel drive, as you would expect from the Audi brand. Now, you can make this car even more dynamic if you wish. There is an active anti-roll bar system and a quattro sport differential available as part of package, but yeah, I don't think it really needs to be that much more dynamic. It's a pretty amazing piece of machinery. And look, it can also tow 3.5 tons. The unbraked rating is 750 kilos. Braked capacity is 3.5 tons, and it'll do maximum tow ball down weight of 350 kilos as well. I'll also put the gross vehicle mass and gross combination mass numbers on your screen so you can do the maths before you hook up the speedboat. There is so much to like about the drive experience in the Audi SQ7. Like, I'm not sure that it does anything badly in particular. It's just a really well-rounded, impressive, comfortable, powerful, and nicely balanced SUV. For the size of it, it doesn't drive like a 5 meter long 2.5 ton SUV. It drives like something a far smaller, far more nimble, and far more joyful as well. Look, I don't know that everybody needs a car like this, but if you want a car like this, then hey, I think that's one of the best you can get. So what is most impressive about it? Well, if you hit this little button down here and go into dynamic mode, and then you, you go like this. Ah! That's what's impressive about it. The 4-litre twin-turbo V8 petrol engine is an absolute scream. It is so powerful, it offers so much grunt, and it is super refined and super likable as well. It just does the job so beautifully, and I mean, it is a very likable engine, and one that I just can't get enough of, honestly. It's just so good. And it's teamed to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and there's paddle shifters as well if you want to take matters into your own hands. But it is a terrific powertrain. There's just such linear power delivery and a soundtrack that is absolutely amazing. I mean, I actually wish there was a bit more noise in the cabin from this engine, because it's otherwise a very calm experience in terms of the engine performance and the noise that you're getting out of it. The other beautiful thing about the SQ7 is you don't have to be in dynamic mode to really enjoy this drive experience. You can put it into, let's say, comfort mode, and things ease up beautifully. You still get the amazing performance from the engine. It's just a bit lazier in terms of the way that it comes on, which is actually a bit more usable in some situations. And also, it's got the adaptive air suspension, which means that it goes a lot more comfortable when you are in the comfort mode. Not that it's uncomfortable in dynamic, it's just a bit firmer in terms of the responsiveness over bumpy sections of road. But no matter which mode you're in, it's still an absolute mammoth of a car and an absolute beast when it comes to the drive experience. It's so fast and so fun for a vehicle of this size and this shape. It shouldn't really be this fun, but it is, and it's just amazing, I reckon. I also really like the way this vehicle steers. It's direct, it's accurate. It's not necessarily the last word in terms of driving feel through the steering wheel, but I don't think it needs to be. It's absolutely brilliant in terms of the way that it gets the power down to the ground and helps you hang on to that power as you're pushing through corners. And also, I have to say, that will be made easier by the fact that it's got 10-inch wide tires. But it's not just the sort of car that you can thrash on a Sunday. It's also the sort of car that you can have fun in on a weekday, because it's a really comfortable, enjoyable luxury car experience, as well as being super powerful and super responsive. The other thing about this car is that it has 4-wheel steering, and what that means is, according to Audi, this car has a smaller turning circle than a Q3. That's phenomenal. Look, a Q3 is a much smaller SUV, but because this car has steering that can basically turn both sets of wheels to help you in slow speed situations, so it'll go the opposite direction at lower speeds and the same direction at higher speeds, it means that this feels more agile than it maybe actually should. It's technology that makes this car, which is very big, feel much smaller than it is, and that's part of the reason it is so appealing. It doesn't feel like a mega SUV, even though the performance on offer is mega. This car, if there was ever a vehicle that you could label the jack of all trades, I think this could be it. The fact that it can tow up to 3.5 tons with the maximum tow ball down weight of 350 kilos, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to pay the fuel bill for that experience, but actually, that's a good segue. Let's talk about fuel consumption, shall we? All right, let's talk about fuel consumption. And look, there is an argument that if you're spending this kind of money on a car like this, then it doesn't really matter how much it costs to keep it running in terms of the fuel, but it is a thirsty thing. There is no denying that. The official combined cycle fuel consumption figure is on your screen now, and that is not a low number. And you might see that in highway driving if you're doing it sedately, but if you're driving it like I have been on this launch event with Audi in the southern areas of Sydney and the surrounds, yeah, it was a spirited drive. It was all about trying to explore the enthusiasm of this vehicle. It's got plenty of that, and it's shown a pretty high number. You'll see it on your screen. That's what I saw on the display anyway. So look, you tell me what you think. Is that a big deal or not? And you need to keep in mind also that it does need premium unleaded petrol, and it does have a pretty big fuel tank. So it's not going to be cheap every time you go back to the servo to fill it up from empty. All versions of the Audi Q7 come with a 5-star ANCAP safety rating, which is valid until the end of 2025, and it comes comprehensively equipped with heaps of standard safety technology. Things like autonomous emergency braking, there's pedestrian and cyclist detection, you've also got lane keeping assistance with active lane keeping, adaptive cruise control with traffic jam assist, so it can actually do the braking, the accelerating and the steering for you in some situations as well. And there's also blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, front and rear parking sensors. You've also got a surround view camera as standard, as you would expect for a vehicle of this size at this price. And it's got 8 airbags, dual front, front side, second row side airbags, and curtain coverage for all 3 rows of seats. So it does stack up well as a family hauler with all the safety cred you'd expect, and none of that safety tech is annoying, which is another big tick. Audi Australia offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and you can also option it with a 5-year service plan, so you can prepay for your services, don't have to worry about that nasty bill shock every year. Your service intervals are every 12 months and 15,000 kilometres. And hey, if you think that that's not enough, you want more coverage. So you could get a 7-year package for this vehicle, and that means that you're getting an additional 2 years of warranty, an additional 2 years of cap price servicing, and an additional 2 years of roadside assist. Otherwise, you still get 5 years of roadside assist included anyway. That's good to see. And there's also the option of a guaranteed future value calculation. So if you're worried about resale value, you'll be able to know what the resale will be after your loan period, and you can either pay the car out or you can get a new car or whatever you want. That's a pretty handy little bit of ownership advice. Make sure you go and do the calculations on the Audi website. I bloody love this thing. I think it's a fantastic 7-seat family SUV. There are some things that maybe could be better, but I reckon for the money, you can't get any better than this. And it is a proper luxury performance vehicle. Just happens to have 3 rows and 3.5 ton towing. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. Do you think it costs too much? Would you choose something else? I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, please ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my reviews. Much more coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.